Have you ever come across an idea so powerful that it just echoes through the centuries? Well, today we're diving into one of those. It's a mysterious prophecy from ancient Israel about a single figure who is somehow both a place of ultimate safety and the cause of a disastrous fall. So let's jump right in, because this is the central puzzle we're going to put together today. How can one person, one entity, be both a sanctuary and a stumbling block? It seems like a total contradiction, right? But the answer connects an ancient prophet with the very first followers of Jesus in a way that is pretty mind-blowing. And this is where it all starts. This is the source of the mystery from the prophet Isaiah. On the one hand, a sanctuary, a holy place, a refuge, but on the other, a stone that trips you, a rock that makes you fall. So who on earth is this prophecy even talking about? Okay, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to jump back in time. We need to understand the original context to figure out why this incredibly powerful and, seemingly contradictory statement was even made in the first place. What's so interesting is that this prophecy was born in a time of intense political panic. I mean, the kingdom of Judah was basically caught between these massive superpowers. There were rumors of conspiracies everywhere, shady alliances, and this constant looming threat of invasion from the Assyrian Empire. You can just imagine, the air was thick with fear. And right into this cauldron of anxiety, God gives the prophet Isaiah a pretty radical command. He basically says, hey, don't get caught up in all the panic. Don't fear what everyone else fears. Instead, he's told to completely change the object of his fear, to redirect all that anxiety and reverence towards someone else entirely. And here it is. This is the crucial command that comes right before our mystery prophecy. The instruction is to set apart, to honor as holy, the Lord of hosts, which is a title that signifies God's absolute authority over everything, all armies, all powers. This was a call to stop freaking out about human armies and instead to cultivate this deep, reverent awe of God alone. So in its original context, the text leaves no room for doubt. It's totally explicit. The figure who is going to be both this safe haven and this dangerous stumbling stone is Yahweh, the God of Israel. Okay, let's keep going because this is where the plot really thickens. We're going to fast forward several hundred years. The Roman Empire is now in charge, and the early followers of Jesus are facing their own kinds of threats and pressures. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The apostles, they knew these Hebrew scriptures inside and out, like the back of their hand. And they start picking up this very specific stumbling stone language from Isaiah. But the million-dollar question is, who are they applying it to now? You see it pop up all over the place. The writers of the New Testament, guys like the apostles Peter and Paul, they repeatedly grab this exact language from Isaiah, stone of stumbling, rock of offense, and they apply it directly to Jesus Christ and the message about his crucifixion. And this, right here, brings us to the absolute core of what we're talking about today. What the apostles were doing wasn't just, quoting a cool old verse. It was an intentional, and frankly, a stunning theological substitution. This is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Look at this. In Isaiah, the command is to honor Yahweh as holy. Simple enough. But centuries later, Peter, writing to Christians, takes that exact same command and just reapplies it. He says, honor Christ as holy. He literally swaps the subject, but keeps the divine mandate. I mean, when you see it laid out side by side like this, the substitution is crystal clear. In Isaiah, the subject is Yahweh, and the command is to honor as holy. In 1 Peter, the subject becomes Christ, but the command? It's identical, honor as holy. The apostles are transferring a divine job description, a divine honor, directly from Yahweh to Jesus. For them, this was one of the most powerful statements they could possibly make about Jesus. To give him the honor and reverence that the scriptures reserve for Yahweh and Yahweh alone, well, that was a radical, world-changing declaration about who they truly believed he was. So let's really unpack the massive implication here. If Jesus gets the same honor as Yahweh, and he gets the same title as the stumbling stone, then it must mean he also embodies the entire paradox of that original prophecy. For the early church, the conclusion was just inescapable. They saw Jesus as the incarnation misma de Yahweh, the very incarnation of Yahweh. In their minds, Jesus wasn't just a prophet talking about the stone. He was the stone, embodying both sides of that prophecy in his own person. And this is how we solve that puzzle from the very beginning. The same person, the same stone, has a dual effect, and it all depends on your response to him. For those who trust in him, he's a sanctuary, a sure foundation. But for those who don't, well, that very same stone becomes an obstacle, a rock of offense, a trap. And you know what? This wasn't some idea the apostles just cooked up years later. It was there from the absolute beginning. When Jesus was just a baby, the prophet Simeon held him and declared that this child would be the cause of both the falling and the rising of many. There's no middle ground. So, this entire journey, from an ancient, panicked kingdom to the early church, it all funnels down to this unavoidable, personal question that the text itself is asking. We follow the breadcrumbs, right? We've traced this direct line of evidence. The identity of Yahweh as the sanctuary and the stumbling stone in Isaiah is directly, deliberately, and unapologetically transferred to Jesus by the apostles. They saw him as the living embodiment of that ancient prophecy. And that really leaves us with a final thought, and it's why this ancient text still feels so sharp today. In a world that's absolutely saturated with things to fear and things to trust, the core challenge from Isaiah and Peter just echoes through time. The question is still there. What or who will you choose to set apart as your ultimate foundation, as your holy sanctuary?